I wake up, I'm in the forest again, I have this baby bird in my hands. And I'm trying to find its home, I'm trying to find its nest. And the bear is coming out of the woods again, and I'm like, so I'm just like, okay. I start pleading with the bear. I'm like, look, I know you want me to go somewhere, but can I just find this baby bird and, its home? I want to find its nest. Can I just do that? And so the bear just kind of sits down, and I'm like, okay. So I look around, and I finally find its nest in a tree. And so I climb the tree, and I put the baby bird back in the nest. And I remember there's 4 eggs, and they were robin's eggs. They were blue. I remember that. And the baby bird was the only one that had hatched. So I climb back down, and I'm like, okay. And the bear stands up, and this type of hurting wasn't as painful because I kind of was like, okay, you did me a solid, so I'm not going to fight you every single path, every single turn. And we get to this clearing, and there's no trees in the middle of the clearing, but the trees are so compact on the edges that it forms a ring. And I look at the bear, I'm like, do you want me to go in the middle of this ring and in this clearing? And of course, he doesn't say anything. And so I'm like, okay. And so I take a step towards the middle of this clearing, and on one foot, I look down, and like all of these vines and mushrooms and flowers kind of bloom around where my foot is. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. And I get kind of excited because I'm like, oh, wow, something's happening. Because, typically when I get to where I need to go, I look at them and I'm like, okay, now what? And then I just wake up. And so I'm kind of like, oh, okay, cool, something's happening. And then I take another step and with my other foot, and it's just, everything is scorched. Everything is black. It's like there's a burn mark of my footprint where it is. And so I have, take a couple more experimental steps, and one foot, makes everything green and lush and beautiful, and the other foot, kind of destroys everything. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. This is a beautiful forest. And so I start hopping on one foot that only brings forth like the green and everything. And I keep hopping and hopping, trying to figure out what this bear wants, because I keep going deeper into the clearing. And I end up tripping on a rock. Like a rock catches my foot, and I totally wipes me out. And so I fall, and I'm like spread eagle flat on my back. And when I hit the ground, I hear a crack, like a thunderstruck. I mean, it almost rattles your teeth. It's so loud. And I look up, and the forest, the clearing has changed, where one half the clearing is full of like trees and flowers and vines and flora and fauna and all this stuff, and the other half is just totally destroyed. And the line of demarcation is lined up completely with my body, where like one side is green and the other side is burned. And so that's when the bear makes his way towards me, and as he's coming towards me, he kind of ambles in between the two sides. And as he's doing that, he changes depending on what side he's on. So if he's on the green side, he becomes bigger, and his coat becomes lustrous and looks like an oil slick, and he kind of glows with like this silver type aura, like this light. And then if he wanders into the burn side, then he becomes smaller and emaciated, and like hunks of fur are missing, and he's burned, and he just looks awful. And so he keeps coming up towards me so much that I'm still flat on my back, and he's actually like standing over me. And when I look up at him, he is actually split in two, like the surrounding areas, where one side is like this glowy bear side, and the other side is this, emaciated burn bear side. And he looks down at me, and I kind of wish I was an artist, because this is just the final thing that just kind of leaves.
Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, it would be so cool if I could just like do some sort of art. But as I'm looking up, I see this bear head, and like half of it is, glowing and beautiful, and the other half is burned, but it's existing in the opposite area of the forest. So the burned half is in the green side, and the glowing side is in the burned side. And he looks down, and our noses like just about touch, and then that's when I wake up.